Hi everybody, it's Sandy Bakos here, and today is Friday, and I think it's July 13th. I took my calendar off the wall. Yeah, it's Friday the 13th. Okay, well, let's hope everything goes well today. I came back to do a video today because I wanted to get back on my every Friday schedule. And I kind of been hopping around, and I just prefer it to have it so that I know that Fridays is when I'm going to do a video. So here I am. And guess what? Monday, July 16th, will be my 1-year anniversary on FLOSSTUBE. Isn't that amazing? I find it so hard to believe that it's been a whole year. But then, when I think back over the changes from my FLOSSTUBE 1 year ago, I am totally amazed. So what I did was I went back and I watched my first video. And I made a few notes about what I was working on then. And I pulled out some of those projects to show you those projects today. So that video was only 13 minutes. So if you didn't see my first video, or it was a year ago, if you saw it way back when, I would suggest that you go and watch that first video. Take 13 minutes, go and watch it, and I think you will be amazed at the changes in not only me personally, but also in my stitching, my outlook on stitching, so many changes. So I'm just going to start in here and talk about the projects that were going on then, and then we'll move along. So one of the first things that I showed in my video was the cross stitch that I had hanging on the wall up here. And so I took it down today. That was one that had been completed back in the probably 1990s. And so I'm going to have to do a lot of reaching today because these things are on a little end table over here. But here is that project, and this is in a really crappy frame, and I was looking at it today when I took it down, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to reframe this into something a little bit better, because this is a plastic edged frame, and it's bowed up here, and I just don't like it, but I do love the cross stitch. So here we go. I'm going to try to get it to where we don't have too much. I do want to bring it in a little closer, but I'll show it to you out here first without the glare. This was Village Harbor. This was a, I still have it upstairs somewhere. It was a little chart that I got at an L&S that we had back then that's no longer in business. And I'm going to bring it up a little closer now so that even though you got the glare, can I turn it? No, not really. But there it is. That was the first big cross stitch that I ever did. The first full coverage. And actually it was the only one I ever did back then. I was back in the, from when I started in the 70s and on into a couple of years ago, I mostly did kits, small kits, not large ones, small kits, or I did, like small pieces that were like in a booklet, and I'd pick out little things out of the booklet and I would do those. Never did anything huge except for that. And actually when I first started cross stitching back in the 70s, a lot of it was stamped pieces. And I really didn't care for stitching the stamped pieces, so I did things like bibs and baby blankets, those little baby quilts, stuff like that. That one there was the only big thing I did. Okay, then I also, during that video, showed you my white wolves, and the cross-stitching and back-stitching and everything had been completed on it, but it had not been FFO'd yet. So I'm going to pull that out here, and if you'll recall, I showed in some videos back that this had fallen, and I have not ever did anything about that. The frame is holding together. So this is white wolves. And of course, if you've watched my previous videos, you know that this was a kit that my mother had purchased, and I never would have purchased anything with Black Ada. And I did this in her memory because she had never even opened the package. And so after she passed away in 2010 at the age of 97, and so I got it out in somewhere in there. When did I start this? I can't remember exactly right now. But anyways, I got it out and I did it in her memory. Whoop, there went the frame. Okay, wait. It just fell apart worse than it's ever been before. So I'm going to have to set this over here to one side. And eventually, I think I'm going to have to reframe that, because what happened is the corner of the frame hit the floor and it kind of pulled apart, and then those little, I don't know what you call the little tabs maybe, in the back that you push down over your work, a lot of those broke off. So it tends to want to fall out, and that frame wants to separate. So I probably will have to do something about that. Okay, so that was one. Another whip that I was working on at that time was the one I just showed you here recently that I finally FFO'd, and that was my Springtime piece by Sue Hillis. So that was a whip 1 year ago. And then in addition to that, one of my other whips that I showed at that time was Occupied. And Occupied still needs to be FFO'd, but this was a whip at that time. And I had, if you've been watching for a while, you know that I did several of these outhouses that I need to FFO for my bathroom. And also at that time, one of my whips was Fits All Sizes, another outhouse. And there's another one that I completed, but it wasn't a whip at that time. I hadn't started that one yet back then. Also, at that time, one of my whips was the Spring Garden Spot. And that's the Paula Vaughn. And this, when I started this in 2016, was probably pretty ambitious for me, having just come back into cross-stitching after many years of either not cross-stitching or just occasionally cross-stitching. And this was a magazine chart, and it was very hard to read. And guess what? It's pretty much done, finally, after all of these. At the time that I showed you this 1 year ago, all the cross stitches were done in this. It just needed back stitching. I've been back stitching on this ever since. And I still have to put in maybe 1 or 2 threads into this. But you know what? I'm calling it, for all intents and purposes, I'm calling it done. So here we go. This is Paula Vaughn's Spring Garden Spot. I love this, but oh my gosh, the back stitching was killer. But I think I may put in just a little bit more back stitching, right? Let's see if I can get this to where I could show it to you. Right in here, is it right there? Wait a minute, no, it's over here by the, yeah, it's right in here. There's some little flowers in here, and that would make this, the stitching would make this basket come down. And so that's all I have to do. Everything else on this is done. I'm going to hold it back up. I love it. It's beautiful. So in the next week, I'm going to try to get just those couple little threads in there. But for all intents and purposes, I'm calling this one finished. Okay, also, one of my whips at that time was the cardinals. And a couple weeks ago, I showed you the cardinals in the tray, asking you what you thought about finishing in that way. And I got a lot of positive response, and I forgot to mention that in my last video. I got a lot of positive response. Everybody thought that would be a good idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I am going to pin this on some foam core. And I'm not going to permanently adhere it into that tray. I'm going to cut the foam core so that it will very tightly fit into that tray so that I don't have to glue anything. I can just pin the project and then maybe tape it down in the back. And then if I want to, at some points, maybe I could switch this out for a winter scene that I haven't stitched yet, but you know, I may, or some other, maybe fall or whatever, and be able to use that tray for more than one cross stitch. So this one was halfway done a year ago. And so that was my Spring Cardinals by Diane Arthurs. Okay, now I think that I'm just double checking here. I think that was all of the projects that I was working on. So as of July 16th, 2017, I was working on 5 whips. Some of those had all the cross stitch done. They were just waiting for the back stitching. Today, we don't want to talk about how many whips I have. So there's one of the changes. And in that video, I actually said, oh, I don't remember my exact words, but it was something to the effect of that I didn't like to get too many projects started because it made me feel anxious. And, you know, over the last couple months, we've been talking about anxiety. I don't think that it's my stitching that's or the whips that's causing my anxiety. I've had that my whole entire life. So stitching actually helps me to settle, to calm. And so I'm not going to blame anything like anxiety onto my stitching now because I know better. But my whole outlook of stitching has changed. As you can tell by looking at those projects, I was strictly picking projects because I thought they were either scenery or birds or that they would fit a purpose, like the outhouses would fit a purpose for in my bathroom. And now I pick projects because I think I love them. Not so much that they have a purpose. I do pick a few things like for gifts and stuff that would have the purpose of being a gift, but I look at things differently. I also know a whole heck of a lot more about cross stitch and stitching than I did a year ago. FLOSSTUBE is amazing. And I hadn't been watching FLOSSTUBE for very long before I decided to make that first video. It just looked like everybody else is having so much fun, and I thought, I want to get in on that action. You know, that's fun, and I thought it would help keep me accountable too. If I knew that I had to keep reporting to people, you know, about what I was doing, and that it did. And it's been an enjoyable year. And I feel like I have grown by leaps and bounds, and I hope to continue on with this journey and for everything to just get better and better. So already this video is longer than that first video I did. So I have learned how to really talk a lot. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that first video and my 1-year anniversary. But I'm so glad that all of you came along on the journey. And if you're new to this channel, I'm so glad you're here. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy seeing the items that I'm stitching on now, of which I'm going to show you a few. Okay, I had a really busy week. Monday, we had to go to the bank. We have a home equity line of credit that is maturing, and we won't be able to draw any more money on it. But we're still trying to do things for home improvements. This house was built in 1977, and over the last 5 years, it has reached that point where a lot of things need to be replaced, redone, and we've been working on those projects, and we have more to do. In fact, we just had a guy out the other night to take a look at our deck because it's sinking. And so instead of the deck having just a slight tilt as it goes out from the house, it's kind of more. And so we need to find out about getting that. And the guy said the best thing to do is just take the whole thing down and rebuild a new one. So we're almost afraid to find out how much that's going to cost. But so we had that on Monday, and on Tuesday I have a girl that comes in every other week for about 2 hours, and she helps me out with some of the heavier cleaning things where like bathrooms where you have to get down on your hands and knees, which I have a very difficult time doing. And if I do get down there, sometimes I can't get back up without help. So, oh man, I'll tell you, getting old. But, you know, it beats the alternative, so I'm not even going to go there. But anyways, she came, and I had her working with my husband, cleaning our back porch and doing some things outside because his birthday's coming up and we're having a little party. And I'll talk about that in a minute, too. On Wednesday, in the morning, we had to take my brother-in-law into Westlake, which is near Cleveland. And he recently had surgery, and he had to go back into a hospital here on the west side of Cleveland to get a special x-ray done. And his wife was babysitting for her grandchildren that day, and she couldn't get anybody else to watch those grandkids. So my husband and I picked him up and took him in and got him his x-ray. And so that took up the whole morning. And at coming home, there was a huge backup on Route 2, which is the main artery from here on the west side to go into Cleveland. Actually, it's Interstate 90 too. They kind of, a little bit east from here, Interstate 90 comes off the Ohio Turnpike, joins up with Route 2, and then it's Route 2, Interstate 90, all the way till it gets to the other side of Cleveland, and then those two split off again. But it was a huge backup, and so we had to try to go in the median and cut across because he was in a lot of pain. He hadn't been able to take his pain meds that day or his anti-anxiety meds, and he needed to get home and get those meds because he was sitting in that seat just moaning, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I cut across the median and went back to the prior exit and took some back roads and around to get us to his house and get him home. So then Wednesday afternoon, we had an appointment to go over to the car dealership to talk about getting my husband a truck. Then on Thursday, it took almost the whole entire day to go and actually get this truck. My husband's been driving a Jeep Wrangler, and it had great big, huge off-road tires on it. And with his Parkinson's, he's been having more and more problems getting in and getting out of that vehicle. And I have just been so afraid that he is going to, either when he's trying to get in, he's going to lose his balance and fall backwards, or when he's trying to get out, he's going to get a foot hooked up there and he's going to fall forwards. And so I just decided that it was time that we we do something. So we went up and we leased him a 2018 Chevy Colorado truck. That sits up too, but not as high as the Jeep. So he can get in and out of that easier. And a Chevy Colorado truck is something that he's been wanting for a while. And he used to have the Chevy S10 trucks. He'd had a couple of those back when they were making those. And so we got him this truck. It's a real pretty blue. And he's just as pleased as can be. And so I'm happy for him. And it fit in our budget. And I don't know if I told you, but just a month ago on June 7th, I went and I had a lease on a 2016 Chevy Equinox. And they contacted me because my lease was going to be coming up due in October. And they contacted me because they're trying to clear out their 2018 base. And they made me a deal where I was able to get a brand new 2018 Equinox and have a payment that was less than the payment that I was currently making on the 2016. So that's like, you know, that's one of those deals that it's a no-brainer. You can't refuse it. And I just love the new one because it's got all this extra safety stuff on it that is just totally amazing. I don't even need a key to start it. I just push a button. I mean, I have to have the key fob on me, but I don't need a key to start it. And, you know, it's wonderful. My other one, the hatch in the back, I had to manually lift it and manually close it. This one, you push a button. This push a button stuff is really, really nice. So we are feeling like we're kind of on, we're up floating around because we both got brand new vehicles. They're totally under warranty. And at our ages and with my husband's problems with the Parkinson's, he can't work on a vehicle and like he used to. I mean, he used to work on all kinds of stuff. Just can't do it anymore. And so it's important to us to know that if something goes wrong, we just call somebody and they're going to take care of it. So that's the other thing we did this week. And now we're at today, and I told you my husband's birthday is coming on Sunday the 21st. He will be 70 years old, and we are having a little party for him. He said he wanted to have a party for his 70th birthday because he's just amazed he made it this far. And so I said, well, wait a minute. My 70th birthday is going to be coming up in February. How are we going to have a cookout and everything for me in February? And he goes, well, he says, it's just that you were born in the wintertime. So he was joking, of course, and so was I. But, you know, we have to give each other a hard time. I mean, otherwise it wouldn't be a normal day in the Bakos household. So anyways, we're working on the party planning and getting everything ready for that. One note, as far as the charts that I have been giving away, I'm going to leave that open till next Friday. Because I did this video kind of in a short period here. My last one was on Sunday. People might think that it's still open until this Sunday. So I'm going to leave it open until next Friday. So if you watch any of the videos and you see that, you'll know the charts are still open until the, let's see, that would be the 20th. So you can still ask for those. Also, just recently, I got a request for one of the charts that I had showed the prior week. And so I wanted to let Karen, you were the one who requested it. I just wanted to let you know that had been shown in the prior video. And someone already won that. I'm still waiting for their address. So let's see, where did I write that down? Country Cross Stitcher. You left me a comment, said you were going to email your address to me, but I haven't received it. So if you did and I didn't get it, please email me again. And if you haven't, if you get that email mailing address to me, then I can get that chart sent out to you. And if Karen, if for some reason she doesn't get back to me by the 20th, then I will let you know, you can have that chart. All right, that takes care of the charts. I'm trying to go over my stuff. Oh, I did want to quickly show you when I was sitting at the hospital and I had nothing else to do waiting for Rick for getting his x-ray. I did work a little bit on my scarf that I had been stitching, cross-stitching. So I thought I'd show you that. I got all of this done. So I've got a little yarn left, so I've got a little bit more to do on it, but that's getting done. And then if you remember, I had already finished one, which is in here, and I'll see if I can pull it out. Here we go. This is the one that's all finished. This one was for my daughter. And the one that I'm currently working on is for my oldest granddaughter. And then I will have 3 more to do. One for the middle granddaughter, one for the youngest granddaughter, and one for me with that variegated yarn. Okay, now, what did I work on between Sunday and now? I need to take a deep breath here. Okay, what I worked on, and I'm going to talk about that rotation in a minute. I had a question about my rotation, so I'll show you what I worked on first, and then I'll talk to you about the rotation. I had pulled out Quaker Diamonds. And I don't know, that just seems like, maybe if I stick this behind it. Oh, you know what, here's a bigger piece of paper, if I can get my fingers on it. It's got writing on it, but maybe that won't show through. So it'll be enough that it'll darken up behind the stitching. So, is that better? I hope so. But anyways, that's coming right along. And if you don't know, this is not, I'm not doing this in the Valdani threads that were called for. This is 14 count Aida. It's dense fog. I forget the manufacturer on this. It's hand-dyed Aida. And I'm using a combination of Weeks and Gentle Arts that my L&S owner took the Valdani threads, matched them to her threads she had hanging on the wall, and so she chose all of the floss for this, and that's what I'm using. And I love it. I absolutely love stitching on this. And it's one of the reasons why I am going back to a rotation, because when I was going up and picking a project, I tended to pick what was closest to me, and some of them were getting buried down below and just languishing, and I didn't work on them for a long time. And now that I'm pulling out some of these ones that I hadn't worked on in a long time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really missed this. Okay, the next thing that I worked on, and this is just the chart, it's out of a magazine. I just made a copy of it. This is called Do All Things with Love, and I'm just calling it Do All Things. And I got this out, and this is on 16 count light blue Aida. This is the Aida that came in the Japanese garden kit that I had so much trouble with, and I thought, I'm not going to work with this for a huge project. But this smaller project, I thought it would be fine. And what's happened is that since I have worked this material so much, it is getting softer, and it is much easier to stitch on. But I still don't think I would have liked to use it for Japanese garden. So here's where I got to on this. Let me fold this edge back, and then maybe I can use my hand to point out where I was at and where I am now. I had half this cloud done before, and I think I had from here over to here maybe, and I had the house and I had the beginning of the bear down here. And so what I've done is I came in here, I did all this extra, not much of this border was done on the top or in the middle, so I got all that border in, I got all the lettering in, finished up the cloud and backstitched it, and so that's where I left off on this one. It's going to be really cute when it's done. Okay, the next thing that I worked on, and I want to look at my notes here and make sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay, I think what I'm going to do before I talk about my next project is I am going to talk about the rotation, because I did have a question on it. My rotation has changed a couple of times in the past week since I first talked about it last week, because I had to see how it was going to work, and if it wasn't working, I was going to make changes to it as I went along. Basically, I'm using a 3-day rotation, and I'm pulling out a project that needs backstitch only, a project that is on 14 count, and a project that is on either 16 or 18 count. The reason for this is my eyes. Most of you, if you've been watching me for a while, you know I have vision issues. I have cataracts, and it makes it very difficult. There's no way I could stitch even 11 count without a magnifier. It's that bad. If I sit and I try to look at the stuff, I can't see the holes. Everything blurs together. But with my magnifier and light back there, I can stitch 18 count I'm doing it. I don't think that I will be starting any new projects on 18 count unless it's a kit that I already have purchased. But I think that probably I'm going to be getting rid of all of my 18 count material that I have, because I just don't see that I want to start any new projects on it. All right, where was I going with this? See, that's what happens. Senior moments. You get a blip in the connection there, and it's just like, where'd it go, you know? My husband and I laugh about this all day long, because if we didn't laugh, we'd be crying all day, and we certainly don't want to do that. Him with his short-term memory loss, and it's just like, you know, tell him something, and half an hour later he comes back and asks me the same question again, and I'll think, well, I just told you, and you know, well, I forgot, and you know, it's day in and day out, so it's just something we have to deal with. All right, so anyways, 3 projects, 3 days. It's not working out totally wonderful, because I think I picked up the back stitching on the Spring Garden spot once in the 3 days. I worked on Quaker Diamonds. Let's see, what? I didn't count, oh, let's see. I worked on Quaker Diamonds on Sunday. That was the only thing I worked on Sunday, but I didn't do a lot of stitching that day. I worked on Quaker Diamonds again on Monday, and then I put it away. Then I worked on Do All Things on the rest of Monday and on Tuesday, and then I put that away. Wait a minute, I'm on the wrong, yeah, I'm on the right date. Oh, I guess I did work on Quaker Diamonds one more day before I put it away. And then I got out something that I started for a new start. So my rotation is going to be a fluid rotation. And I'm marking down what I intend to work on, and then I'm marking down what I actually did work on. And I'm going to try to just rotate through all of my projects from the ones that I haven't worked on in the longest time period. Those are the ones that are coming out first. So hopefully hopefully this is going to work. If it doesn't, maybe I'll have an update on what changes I'm going to make to it next Friday. Okay, my new start. My new start is a gift for someone, and this is, I've gone way out of my comfort zone on this, but, and I'm not sure exactly how I want to explain this, so bear with me here. Maybe a couple of months ago, I can't remember how long it's been because time just flies by. Could have been 4 months ago, I don't know. Homesteading on the Home Front, Lynette, put out some quilt blocks that she designed, and she had them out there available if you went on her channel, and they were available as Google Doc downloads. And I downloaded the first 4, and I have yet to go back and download the rest of them, but I downloaded the first 4. I thought I'd like to do something with them someday. So, and I'm going to talk about this because I really don't think my daughter watches my floss tubes. I know she does go on Instagram, so you're not going to see this project on Instagram at all until it's complete and she's seen it. Her birthday is coming up in August. And so I was with my granddaughters last week, and we had a discussion about what I should do for Mom. And so I showed them a couple of ideas of pictures on my phone, and I said, well, I could pick off the Quaker Diamonds has these little separate mini motifs on the side of the chart that you can do up separately. I said I could pick off one of those and use the floss the way it's designated on that. And I don't remember, I showed them something else. And then I showed them the quilt blocks, pulled it up on Google Docs and showed them the quilt blocks. And they were just in black and white because Lynette did not choose colors to use for these. The symbols are there, but she didn't choose any colors. So they decided they liked the quilt blocks. So then I came home and I thought, okay, I've got to come up with some ideas for this. So first what I did was I decided to choose some fabric. So this is the fabric that I chose. I bought this at my local L&S, and not all of it has this light going through it as much. Different sections are a little bit darker, but it is mottled. It is called, where's my paper? It's called Rose Petals. It's hand-dyed Ada by, I can't ever say it, Zygart? You know what I mean. But anyways, it's hand-dyed Ada. I had seen this at my L&S one time when I was in there, and I just loved the color, and I thought, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to use this for, but I'm buying it. So I got it. Okay. So that was what I did first, was I picked out the fabric. Okay. Then I looked at each one of the quilt blocks, and I've got those right behind me here. I just have to. And one, I've been working on it, so I've been marking on it. So you're going to see some highlighter on here. Okay, one is Chelsea's quilt, and it's Hens and Chicks. That's the first one. This will be the second one. It is Jenny's quilt, and this is the Missouri Star. The next one is Donna Ray's quilt. She named these all for floss tubers, and that is Honeybee. The next one is Kelly's quilt, and that is Goose in the Pond. Then I had to decide how I was going to arrange these and what colors I was going to use. I'm not good at this kind of thing, but I thought, you know what? I just have to go for it. So here again, I'm going to reach around behind me because I have floss back here in a couple of places. And let me just grab it and I can show you. I did put this on Instagram. I don't know if you heard what I said when I was back there. I did post this on Instagram with the material and the flosses. But my daughter likes blues. She likes purples. she tends to like a lot of the same colors that I do. So what I did was I picked this. I hope you can see these. This is a floss that Marlene sent to me when I bought a project bag from her. And as is, where's the other one? This one. So I decided this would be a good way to use these. So I'm using those. I'm using this and this and this purple and this bluish gray and this blue and this yellow. So then what I decided, I had to sit and I laid the charts out and I looked at each one and I thought, okay, I've got to assign a color to a symbol and decide how all these are going to stitch up. I have no idea how it's going to work out, but so far I think I'm doing okay. So here's my plan. These are just small blocks. Here is the first one. Okay, this is this one is 35 by 35 stitch count. The other ones are 37 by 37, all three of the other ones. So this is the top, this is all the way to the bottom. This is the one side, and then this is all the way to the other side. So that's as big as they are. I'm going to take this fabric. I'm going to put, I've mapped it all out with spacing. So there, I'm going to come down, do this one. There's going to, I think it's 1 inch in between here. Then I'm going to bring each one of them down in a row underneath. And then I'm going to have just a small space in between here. And then I'm going to start with the bottom one on this side. And it's going to go on the top. And then they're going to be in reverse order going down on this side. I wanted it to be a little bit bigger piece rather than just this. And I haven't decided yet whether it's going to be a wall hanging or whether it is going to be framed. I'll decide that when it's done and I see how it looks. But there's the close-up. And personally, I think the colors came out okay. And I think it's going to be, this one's going to work well. And we'll see with the rest of them as I do them. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time working on this because I want to try to have it done by her birthday. If I don't get it done by her birthday, then I'll just tell her about it and give it to her later. But I want to try. So you won't see that on Instagram. I'm kind of going to keep that hidden away and just work on it. So, all right, this video is getting long. So I am going to let you all go. And I'm just going to say thanks for watching. Thanks for being here with me. Thanks for listening to me blather on. You have no idea how this helps me. Sometimes just to sit here and talk some of this stuff out. And it helps me to clarify in my own mind what it is I want to do and in what direction I'm heading and so forth. And you can't talk to a husband about this stuff. No way. I mean, some of you, I know you do have husbands that you can discuss this stuff with. Mine isn't one of those. And I don't have anybody around me that cross stitches in this area. So you guys are it. You are my people. So love to all of you, hugs to all of you. I hope everybody is safe and that everybody is well. On that note, I have no new news on Olivia or Lori. I'm doing okay. Kind of fell down on my walking this week, but I'm going to get back to it. I just had too dang many things going on where I had to be places early. So just hang in there and enjoy your stitching as much as I enjoy mine. So I will see you next week. Bye-bye.